Well, greetings all. Welcome back to my channel, Michelle Lives Well. Today is the beginning of March, and we're going to be talking about the Great Reset. The Great Reset. And this is so timely. I got up early and I went outside just to be out there with the sun and with nature. And I just went on a nice stroll in the morning before I started my work day, and it was just a beautiful morning. And as I walked by the patches of snow that was left on the ground, it started to make me think about how the ground was unthawing. And as it unthaws and the new season comes around, we're going to go into this new cycle, and it's going to bring back to life. We'll see the rebirth, the awakening of insects, bugs, different type of animals that we haven't seen throughout the winter, and plant life. And so I was just like, my soul was joyful. It was joyful thinking about this rebirth that was going to take place, this reset that was going to take place. And it made me think about how beautiful that cycle is and how organic and natural it is for the insects, the bugs, the plant life, and the animals that go through that season, for them just to fall in line with that. Right? They just fall in line with it. And we as humans, we're connected to all of these living creatures, all of these living beings we're connected to, but we are very unique. Humans are very unique, and it's a beautiful thing. And sometimes I think we might take it for granted. We are connected to all of God's creations on this beautiful earth. But the unique thing about humans is that we have choice in when we are going to go through a new season. We have choice as to when we're going to do resets. We have choice over that. We have privileges and these freedoms and power to make choices and to reset whenever we like, however many times we like to reset. A day, in a week, in a month, throughout the year, we have autonomy. We have that power and the freedom to make as many decisions as we want to make, so that way we can reset this moment to that moment and that moment to this moment. And there's no other creature out here, from my knowledge, there's no other creature out here that has that type of power and authority like human beings. All the other living creatures, they have to kind of go with the flow of these cycles that they're in, and how seasons change, and it's just how God made things. And he's given us so much power and authority and freedom of choice to have the ability to reset when we need to reset, when we desire to reset. We can reset when we want to. And that's so much freedom in that. It was just so much freedom and that realization as I was walking down the street and connecting those dots with the season change and the animals. And so it made me think about us going into this third month, the third month of the year. And in the business world, it's the last month of the first quarter of the year. And so at this point, we are reviewing the goals that we've set for ourselves in business, but you can do this with personal life. You can do this as well. So at this time, we're reviewing where we are with quarter one, the goals that we set out for ourselves. We're reviewing that. We're seeing how we're checking out up against what we set for ourselves, our numbers, and seeing if we did not meet these targets, then what is happening here? What do we need to reset? What do we need to adjust? All right. What do we need to tweak, change the course of action, whatever it is we need to do, so that way we could meet the targets that we set out for ourselves, because the goal never changes. The steps does, right, to get to that goal. But what do we need to do to shift gears so that way we can make sure that we hit our target for this first quarter? And this first quarter will then transition to the second quarter. That's a season. That's a shift, right? That's a reset. And all of these quarters, you got 4 in a year, it helps us get to our end goal that we are reaching for, that we have set out for ourselves for the end of the fiscal year or for the end of the calendar year, depending on how you set up things in your business and your personal life. So that made me think of that, going into these seasons and how we get how we as humans, the difference, although humans have great power, great autonomy, great authority over their lives, what I noticed in that moment, just observing nature and how things work and the seasons, how it changed, we as humans, we stress out a lot, right? And so for us, it seems as though, although we have all this power, we have all this authority, we have all this autonomy, we struggle with resetting. We struggle with the changing of seasons. We struggle with the shifts. We struggle with pivots. A lot of us pride ourselves on being flexible and kind of going with the flow. But man, when life throws you a doozy, you hear me? When life throws you a doozy, when it uppercuts you, when it hits you with a right hook, when it gut punches you, when it takes you out and lay you flat on your behind or on your face, right? When it just feels like it is trying to come at you with all it has, it could feel like, man, I just cannot, right? But what I know from my live, learn experience is that it is vital for us to have those moments, where we are forced to reset. We are forced to reassess. We're forced to recalibrate. We're forced to reflect, right? And all of those things are a part of resetting, shifting, and going into a new season. The other living creatures outside of humans, they have to wait season to season, cycle to cycle, for the change to happen that's going to impact them. They have no control over that. They have to wait, right? They're obedient to the purpose that they were created for. They can't change the way they look. They can't change the crew that they row with. Like they have to go with the cycle, right? They have to go with the flow of things. With humans, we have so much freedom. We don't have to wait for a season to change, for things to change for us, right? For things to change for the better. We don't have to wait for a season, an actual winter, spring, summer, fall season to come. We don't have to wait for a certain time of the year for things to change, to get better. So years ago, I put up a video about we don't wait for Mondays, right? We don't wait for Mondays, because it used to be when I was growing up and I was first, learning all the things about nutrition and fitness education and wellness. And since I was younger, it was always about the starting on Mondays, right? For all of the chronic dieters that came before me and my family, church family, it was always about waiting for Monday. I'll start this on Monday. And I did a video back in 2019, I think it was, and it was on Facebook. And it was about we don't wait to start for Mondays. We do not wait to start for Mondays. And the same concept of waiting to start for the new year, or if you set a goal and it doesn't come to pass, or you feel like you've fallen off the wagon, or you just feel like you failed in some type of way, you never fail. It's all lessons, you never fail. So forgive yourself with that. Give yourself some grace and give yourself the space to grow in this lesson. It's never failure. Always remember that. So the whole thought of resetting, this great reset, the great reset that I'm calling this episode, is that you don't need to wait for Monday. You don't have to wait like insects and animals and bugs and plant life have to wait for this new season, for their season to end and for a new season to begin, or for a season like wintertime to end before their season begins, right? You don't have to wait for somebody to give you permission to reset. You have the complete power and authority and autonomy over this thing called life, your life. You've been given that freedom. You've been given that power. And so you must walk in that power that you've been given. So even this, for me, I normally say when it comes to wellness, it is a moment to moment thing. We all have different things that we done been through, and it's impacted our brain in different kind of ways. And so how a reset looks to me and how I make my wellness goals and how I go through life and I make my decisions will look completely different from you. And it'll look different from my brother and my sister, even if we had the same dads and the same moms, right? So you have to make this thing personal. You can't look at what somebody else have going on in their life and then shift and pivot based on what they have going on. Your reset is all about you. It is all about you. And the animals, they have the animals, the plant life, the insects, the bugs, they have to remain in alignment with who they were created to be, right? Who they were created to be, the season in which they are meant to live here on this earth, and the season in which they're meant to pass on and transition on, and the new season rolls in, and that life springs up. This life dies off, another life springs up, and it keeps on going on and on. Or they have to go to sleep for a certain time frame, and then they wake back up when it's time for their season to come along. And so the beautiful thing about us is that we don't have to wait. We don't have to wait. And that's the main point that I want to get out to you. You do not have to wait to reset. You do not have to wait for Monday. You do not have to wait for 2023. You do not have to wait for Q2 in June. You do not have to wait to get a summer body. You don't have to wait for that. You don't have to wait for a vacation. You don't have to wait for a birthday. You do not have to wait for the next trend. You do not have to wait for when society tells you it's a go, it's green, it's on go. You don't have to wait for that stuff. You can reset in this very next moment, and in this very next moment, and in this very next moment. You can reset as many times as you need to reset until you feel as though you are in alignment with who you were created to be, where you see yourself as the best version of yourself. And you can do so as many times as you need to with grace, unapologetically. Right? That's the beautiful thing about human beings. So I find myself now in this season of resetting. And throughout my years, I'm 35 years old, I've had to reset my life quite a bit. I've had to reset my life. And I do that in different type of ways. But the main way that I do it is my perspective, is my outlook. How I see things, how I choose to see things, no matter how dark it is, no matter how bleak and hopeless it feels, no matter how lost I may feel in that moment, in the season. I shift my perspective. I shift my gaze. I shift my outlook. I shift those things. I go quiet. I go within. I go to stillness. I sit still and I get grounded and I get connected spiritually with the spiritual being that created me, the Most High God. All right. And so by doing that, I get reconnected so I can get guidance. I can shift based on this season that I'm in right now. So with that, I say farewell for now. I hope you enjoyed today's Wholeness Wednesday session. I hope that it was a blessing to you. And my prayer is that you live well on purpose, with intention, from the inside out. I will see you on Friday, which is Freedom Fridays, and we'll get more into this challenge that we have going on for the month of March. And I look forward to hearing from you all and connecting and engaging and just learning to do this thing called life together by living well. Living well. Until next time, be well and take care.